Julija Stoliarenko upsets Molly McCann, and she said it before. They asked her, "What are you gonna do when you win?" She says, "Or what are you gonna hear?" "I'm gonna hear silence," and I love to hear silence. She came in confident. She came in with a game plan, and she came in like almost like she knew something that we didn't. Like she knew she was going to get that armbar. Given that Molly McCann had a fighter in front of her who is very one-dimensional, has one win in the UFC thus far, but is still a very tough opponent. Do you think that Molly McCann's game plan specifically just wasn't the best suited for this matchup?
It's rough because, yes, I do think the blitz style, the all-forward pressure of Molly McCann lends to that submission specialist that's able to take you down, get you into position. I also, Derek, and correct me if you think I'm wrong here, but I think there might have been something going on in the sense of you're prepping for an armbar specialist, you're prepping for a submission specialist. You've been caught in a lot of them, and all you're thinking is, I can't get submitted, I can't get submitted, I can't get submitted. Well, when you're thinking about that, guess what happens? You roll into an armbar and get submitted. And I think there might have been something panicky or just taken out where it's like, oh shit, I'm in this position I didn't ever want to be in again. Your heart starts racing, you panic a little bit and flipped into it. So I don't really say the game plan of Molly McCann kind of faltered her as much as it was a nice one for Julija Stoliarenko to be able to get in close and close that distance. I think just more not the moment, but there's something else there that kind of flipped a switch. And we saw Molly McCann basically put herself into a worse position than she was instead of stay calm, stay cool, and technical. Do you think there's anything to that at all? Or was this just an easy matchup that we didn't see coming for Stoliarenko?
I mean, yeah, you could definitely PTSD from the Aaron Blanchfield fight and said, oh, she's on top of me now. She's switching, transitioning. Because, like, the switch that Stoliarenko did from that, like, mounted position to that armbar was so slick. And when she took it, and it was a very high-level jiu-jitsu practitioner's transition to the armbar. And when she got that armbar in, she locked it in full. Like, Molly McCann was tapping for a solid minute before they pulled that, the referee pulled her off. So I agree with you on one end where it could have been a little in her head. I do think that the technically correct things weren't done. It was also hard to do the technically correct things given the angle of the armbar and the cage being right there next to her. The biggest thing was I felt like sprawl and brawl, Molly McCann, don't be back against the cage. You dictate the pace. You walk forward was the game plan, but she couldn't. And then this is the thing that we forget sometimes. When you have the grappling advantage, you can walk forward with reckless abandon. I thought that would play into Molly McCann's favor, given that she's going to walk forward. You're going to put the big shots on her. She's going to then start retreating. It just never ended up happening that way. This is the big question here. Molly McCann gets made fun of because she grabbed the belt and she did the run around the octagon. And she's a name. We said it, fun fights. And we said the UFC pretty much gave her a showcase bout in this one. Do we change our opinion given the outcome, or do we still feel like this was a showcase bout? Once again, Stoliarenko was like 1-3 against UFC competition entering this fight. What do you think?
I think on paper it was a showcase bout, Derek, and lining it up, the X's and the O's, it still looks like it would favor Molly McCann very heavily. I think the one thing that at least I missed, or at least I didn't reconsider, or at least on this whole card, for instance, anybody that has dropped weight to get to a weight class, Stoliarenko looked good, bro. She did not look depleted at all. She looked bigger. She looked stronger. She looked like the imposing, indomitable will and fighter that can be done, and obviously was there that night. And I think that right there, that little X factor, because I was hoping Stoliarenko would come in a little depleted, like we've seen other fighters do. Yet she comes in looking stout, looking mean. And right there, I think when Molly McCann hits Stoliarenko and sees, oh shit, she's not going back. She's not taking a backward step. Oh no, like what's usually this power phases girls. That right there could have played a little bit into it. And I'm thinking there's something there, Derek. But if there was something that you saw, is there anything different?
No, that's a really fair point because I think we're all thinking the same thing. We've seen Stoliarenko collapse on the scale. She's not going to be, feeling too good coming into the 125-pound weight class. Yeah, man. I mean, tough night for Molly McCann. I think that's really all you got to say right there. Size does matter in these scrambles and things of that nature when somebody grabs you who's big and strong. But last thing before we move on, man, I think it's a little unfair, the criticism that Molly McCann gets, just because if you are very aware of where she lies and kind of the narrative of the UFC and the rankings in the women's flyweight division, the people who are trying to crown her and put her in the top 15, those are the people who are really surprised. I never really had her top 15. I don't think a win over her puts Stoliarenko in the top 15. I just think that this is one of those, you fought a UFC journey person, right, who has a fun name and puts on fun fights. Would you agree or no?
I would agree totally, and I think that's where Molly McCann is going to find her golden egg. That's going to be the prize for her, is the name, is that kind of Conor McGregor-esque style of fight. Because no matter win or loss, even like Jorge Masvidal, we are excited to watch these people fight, and they fill seats, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly. I mean, that's where the money comes in, honestly. More than the skill level, it's can you put butts in seats, and we know Molly McCann can do that. With that being said, huge win for the new flyweight, Julija Stoliarenko. Interesting to see what fights are going to be lined up with her next. I'll just say that.